Brands are spending more on paid media than they ever have. CPMs are up, competition for attention is up, platform fees are up, and conversion rates for most brands are flat or declining. So the logical conclusion most marketing teams reach is that they need to spend more to get the same results, which they do. And it works for a while until it doesn't. And then they spend more again. Well, that is not a growth strategy. This is a slow bleed dressed up in a dashboard. And the frustrating part is that the brands bleeding the most are usually the ones checking their ROAS the most. And they are deep in the numbers. They're running tests. They're doing everything the platform tells them to do, and they are still losing ground quarter over quarter, and they cannot figure out why. But the answer is not in the ad account. It never was. So today we are talking specifically about paid media and why most of it is not working as well as it should, why the fixes most brands try make the problems worse, and what the brands actually scaling profitably in 2026 are doing differently. No platform bashing, no just run better creative takes. This is an infrastructure conversation, and if you run paid media for any business, you need to hear this. All right, here's a brief story of how paid media used to work, and it's why that history is now actively working against you. In 2018, platforms had rich behavioral data. They knew who bought what, when, and at what price point, and from which category. You told the platform your goal, you pointed it at an audience, and the targeting did most of the heavy lifting. Creative mattered, but a decent ad pointed at a tight audience converted pretty reliably. And then 3 things happened all at once. iOS 14 came out, and roughly 40% of the behavioral data platforms disappeared overnight. And privacy regulations in Europe and increasingly in the US started restricting what platforms could even track, store, and use. The platforms did not disappear, they just adapted. They shifted to AI-driven, broad audience bidding. And instead of precise targeting based on known behavior, they now use machine learning to find likely converters from a much wider pool, but with much fuzzier signals. Which sounds fine in theory, but in practice, it means the platforms are now making decisions with a fraction of the data it used to have in a much more competitive auction environment and at a significantly higher cost per impression. And the brands that never updated their strategy to account for any of this are the ones that are bleeding money right now. They're running a 2018 playbook in a 2026 environment and wondering why the math is not mathing. So here is where most ad audits go wrong. A brand brings in someone to look at their ad account. The person digs into the campaign structure, audience segmentation, bidding strategies, and budget allocation, and they find things to fix because there's always things to fix. So they go in and they fix them. And performance improves slightly for about 6 weeks, and then it plateaus again because the campaign structure was never the problem in the first place. In a post-signal world, the primary targeting mechanism is the creative itself, not the audience you selected, not the campaign objectives, the creative. And the platform is using your ad to find the people who are most likely to respond to it, which means if the creative is vague or generic or speaking to anyone, the algorithm has no useful signal to work with. It does not know who to show it to, so it shows it to everyone, spends your budgets, finds some clicks, and calls it a win. But the brands scaling profitably right now have internalized this completely, and they are not running one ad to a broad audience and optimizing the bid. They are running 20 ads, each built around a specific problem, a specific person, a specific moment in the buying journey, and they are letting all the creative do the targeting. And the platform, which has gotten genuinely good at finding the right people for the right message, does the rest. This is not a small adjustment. You have to focus on that. It is a completely different philosophy about what paid media actually is. Okay, so before you spend another dollar scaling a campaign, you need to know if any of these 3 leaks exist in your system, because scaling a leaky system does not fix the leak, it just makes it more expensive. Leak 1. The offer is wrong. An offer is not a product, and it is not a discount. The offer is a specific answer to a specific problem at a specific moment. Save 20% is not an offer. Finally fix the thing that's been annoying you for 2 years and get it delivered within 3 days, that's an offer. Most ad accounts are driving traffic to product descriptions and calling it a campaign. The click happens, the conviction doesn't, and the platform keeps optimizing for that click because that's all it knows how to measure. Leak 2, your landing page does nothing. The ad gets someone's attention, it earns the click, and then it sends them to a homepage or a landing page that talks about the brand, has 6 navigation options, a hero image that takes 3 seconds to load on mobile. It's awful, and the conversion never happens, and the platform logs it as a non-conversion event and attributes it to your audience. You don't want that. You just taught the algorithm that the people most interested in your product don't buy, and that is damage that compounds. And leak 3, the feedback loop is broken. platform needs conversion data to optimize intelligently. If your pixel is misconfigured, your purchase events are not firing correctly, your attribution window is too narrow to capture how your buyer actually decides, and the algorithm is flying blind. It is optimizing for signals that do not represent real revenue. And then you're just looking at the ROAS number in the dashboard and thinking it reflects reality when it might be measuring something adjacent to reality at best. Fix the leak before you scale. This is not optional. This is where the strategic shift lives. When targeting was precise, creative was important but not decisive. You can run a decent ad to the right audience and get reasonable results, but the audiences did a lot of the work. Well, that's gone. What replaced it is a system where the creative is doing the audience qualification. The message itself is filtering for the right person. Think about what that means practically. If your ad says best running shoes for serious runners, the algorithm finds serious runners. If it says great shoes for everyone, it finds no one in particular and spends your money finding that out. The specificity of the creative is now the targeting layer, which means the brands with better creative and not just getting more attention are the ones that are winning. They are getting cheaper, more qualified traffic because the algorithm is finding better matches. This is why the brands winning at paid media right now are investing in creative infrastructure, not just creative production. They are building systems to understand which message resonates with which buyers at which stage of the journey. They are testing volume, but with intention. Not 50 random variations created by AI, but 50 deliberate variations built around distinct angles for distinct audiences. And they are using that data to get smarter every month. So the cost to acquire a customer goes down as the system learns. This is not something a platform optimization call will fix. It's a creative strategy problem that requires a creative strategy answer. All right, here's what I want you to do this week. Pull your last 90 days of paid media data and answer these 4 questions honestly. 1, what is your cost per acquisition? Not your cost per click or cost per lead, the actual cost per acquisition. And has it gone up or down in the last 3 quarters? 2, how many distinct creative angles are you running right now? Not how many ads, how many fundamentally different messages speaking to different problems for different buyer types. And 3, when someone clicks your best performing ad, what is the first thing they see on the landing page? And does it continue the exact conversation the ad started? And 4, is your pixel firing correctly on purchase events? And when did you last verify that? If your cost per click is rising, you have one creative angle, your landing page is a homepage, and you cannot remember the last time you checked your pixel, you have found your problem. There's the leak. And the good news is that none of these are unsolvable. They're just not solvable by increasing the budget. So here's the model that the brands who are scaling efficiently right now are running, and it's not complicated. They treat paid media as a system with 3 connected parts, and they do not touch the throttle until all 3 are working. The offer has to be specific and compelling enough that it doesn't need a hard sell. The creative has to speak to the clear problem for a clear person in a way the algorithm can use to find more of them. And the landing page has to continue the conversation the ad started and get out of the way of the conversation. When those 3 things are aligned, the platform does something remarkable. It gets cheaper over time instead of more expensive because it's finding high intent buyers efficiently, learning from the conversion data and improving its targeting with every transaction. And that is compounding. That's what compounding looks like. And that is what paid media is supposed to do when it's built as a system instead of assembled as a campaign. The brands bleeding are treating paid media like a faucet. Turn it on, you get revenue, you turn it off. But the brands scaling and treating it like an engine, built the right way, tune it in consistently, they're the ones that get more efficient for the long run. Okay, so let's bring it all home. Your paid media is not underperforming because the platform is broken. It is not underperforming because your competitors have bigger budgets. It is underperforming because the strategy was built for a version of advertising ecosystem that no longer exists, and nobody stopped to rebuild it. Signal loss changed the entire targeting game. Creative became the primary qualifier, and the offer became the difference between a click and a conversion. And the landing page became the place where campaigns go to die if no one's paying attention to it. So, the brands who are figuring this out are not spending more. They're spending smarter on better creative, tighter offers, and conversion infrastructure that actually converts. And they are watching their cost per click drop while everybody else's goes up. Run the audit I walked you through, fix the leaks before you scale, and and stop optimizing a structure that is not a problem. At 77, this is exactly what we do in our traffic engine and store engine, and it's the work that we build around, because paid media that scales profitably is not a campaign, it is a system, and we build systems. Pretty does not pay the bills. Performance does. Thank you as always for watching. Drop a comment. Tell me which of those 3 leaks you found in your account, because I bet money that at least one of them is there. Share this with whoever manages your ad spend, and they will either love you or be mildly defensive about it, but either way, the reaction means it's landed, and I will see you in the next video.